Well, it took me a day, but I've had an epiphany, right? So you can see on the right-hand side there, mob cooldown, and it's action and cooldown. So I figured out how I am going to make sure only one mob for each category, if you will, triggers a ability. Oh, right, so something somewhere triggered an ability. Not you, though. You're our guinea pig, so I'd like you to show it off at the very least. Right, so I've programmed the allies, two abilities, and basically what happens is there's an internal scoreboard on every mob that counts up to a certain point and then allows them to activate an ability, at which it will detect if there is an action available, right? So this way I can set up actions for passive mobs, for neutral mobs, for hostile mobs, for bosses and anything else. So only one action from each class, so to speak, can be triggered at any time, right? Meaning that if you have a whole stack of chickens, there will be a random interval between all their actions, right? They're not just all going to spam their abilities, right? To stop just while taking advantage of the passive mobs. Come on, do your thing. I should have a way to give you your score, right? So there we go. I wasn't close enough though, but there we go. Let's try again. We'll move closer. We'll give you the 1150. So it should count to 12. Can't trigger it right now because there was another mob, but then he triggered. Here you go. And here you go. Teleported him and the items to us, right? That's why there's some eggs on the ground, right? We'll just show it off again. So we set it to 1150, gets to 1200, procs the action. There we go. It says helpful cheer. Time to get work, gives us haste, triggers the action point to be removed, and then triggers the cooldown to be set, right? And then once the cooldown gets back down to 1, it'll add an action point back. And using this system, I can gate again when every mob activates. I will most likely split them up, right, between the different categories. So again, passive, neutral, hostile, and then the special varieties. And then I can even tie in a way for the player to, generate more action points, if you will. So for instance, for passive mobs, that's a good thing. So I might have it tied to luck where, depending on your luck, you might have a larger cap. Rather than one action point, you could get to 3. So up to 3 passive mobs can all trigger their abilities at once, right? I think that's the better way to handle it. And then hostile neutral will be probably the opposite, right? So if you don't have enough luck, or just you have X amount of armor or difficulty or something like that, right? They will have extra action points, meaning that they can then all use their bad abilities more often against you, right? So I think splitting it up, making sure that they're all separate actions and cooldowns is a bit better, because right now only one mob in the entire world at a time can trigger their ability, which is a bit bad. But another thing it does do, it stalls, if you will, right? So say this ally triggers this ability. In fact, say there's 2. We'll do it that way. I can't really summon one, but say there's 2, right? They both have their internal scoreboard counting up. They might both reach the 1200 at once. One will trigger their ability, reset the action point, and trigger the cooldown. The cooldown will then count down, and once the action point is available again, then the next ally, because they're already at the scoreboard cap, will trigger their ability, right? So it saves the activation, if you will, right? And then the cooldown is anywhere between, 0 and 100, I believe. Well, 0 and 99, so roughly anywhere between instant and 5 seconds. So there could be a instantaneous gap between abilities or up to 5 seconds. I think that's the best way to handle it. But yeah, why did I set up the scoreboards a bit more, and then we can sort of look at what I'm actually doing. Right, so first step, split up to 3 now. So we have action, hostile, neutral, passive, and cooldown, hostile, neutral, passive. We go ahead and remove the action points from any of those. So for instance, passive, right, it got reset instantly. That time a few seconds, this time much longer, but we'll just make sure that they're all correct before we move on. We'll do hostile, right, should reset, and then we'll also do neutral, right, and as long as they go back to 1, which one is not? Oh, they're setting action. Oops, there's a typo somewhere. Right, that's better. That should be fine now. So neutral again and hostile. They should reset the actions. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing is just linking each of the different categories to the right ability selection. So we'll open the functions up. Sorry, it's late again, right? I spent all day figuring it out, and now I'm a bit knackered. But what am I trying to do? Windows, there we go, perfect. Open that. Okay, so this is the way the cooldown works, essentially. So they're all the same sort of sequence. So execute if the action right, of the mob cooldown. So that's the entire scoreboard matches 0. And if the cooldown matches 1, it'll store the result of the RNG. And then it will essentially divide it by 10. That's what this C constant is, just constant 10, right? Because the RNG is anywhere between 0 and 1,000, we want to divide it by 10, so it's anywhere between 0 and 100, because in terms of ticks, again, that's 0 to 5 seconds. Then after that, we're checking if the cooldown is 2 or above, at which case we're minusing 1 from it, so that's it counting down. And then we check if it matches 0, then we set the passive to 1. This is more of just a failsafe, right? If anything, for whatever reason, sets it below 1, it'll just reset to 1, or I think that's good enough for it to work on load. No, I'm pretty sure I still need to put them in the load underscore scoreboard. Okay, and then the last one is just passive and action, so it checks them both. Once passive reaches 1, and if the action is 0, it will add 1 back to the action point, right? So that's just how they constantly reset, and guarantees that there's some sort of random interval between mob activation, so not all mobs just stack their abilities. There's at least, again, somewhere between a 0 and a 5 second gap between multiple activations. After that, the actual activation, if you will. Okay, so this is just for the ally as it is right now. So we're checking a few different things. One, the action point. So this does need to be changed to now passive, since we've gone ahead and split that up. So we're checking to make sure there is a passive action point available. After which it will then check their normal ability score, right? So it starts at 1, every tick it's going up by 2, and has a chance to be minused by 1 if the player's luck is greater than the RNG variable. Again, just more variation to make it more dynamic, right? So once that reaches the threshold, in this case 1200, it will then check the RNG. So if it's below 333, it just resets their ability timer, if you will. Otherwise, if it's above, it'll pick one of the 2 abilities. Okay, so I'll either use Helpful Cheer or Here You Go, depending again on that RNG. And inside these functions, it not only executes the commands for the action, but then it also deletes the action points. Oh, if I get the cursor over there, no, because it's trying to go to Minecraft, and it also resets their normal ability score, right? So that they restart counting. Do I have it up? I don't have it up. Let's just go into it. Mob, abilities, passive, ally, helpful cheer. There we go. Right, so removes an action point and resets the normal ability. Okay, so then they have to count back up to 1200, as well as sit through the 0 to 5 second cooldown between action points. Right, and this also needs to be changed to passive. Ooh, same with the Here You Go. Yeah, because we've set that up now. Okay, so save. I'm actually a little bit worried though. Why are you not doing anything? We didn't save the activation, did we? I just changed that now. Let's reload, because he should trigger it straight away, because he should have by far enough by now. No? We'll set you to 1150 just to make sure that the changes we've just done do actually work. So in 1.5 seconds, he should use ability, but it looks like I have broken things, have I not? That should do it. I just had another check here that we don't really need. I can either run the action point check here or in the actual activation. If I run it here, I have to then split up the activation into the different categories, which, you know, in terms of neatness, is probably worth it. I'll think about it. But if we reload, you should use your ability now, and straight away, hopefully. As soon as we load in, it did. It got the negative roll though. Oh, let's try and constantly. I guess there's a bunch of different entities lined up. That's probably the cause. We'll set to 1150. Again, should take 2.5 seconds. Perfect. There we go. And he used Here You Go. So he teleports to us and brings any items nearby with him. Awesome. Okay, so it's all working. Now I just have the fun job of finishing off the other, I want to say 32 passive mobs. Right. Fun. And then we can start looking at them. It's exciting to work on something new. I like problem solving. Anyway, I'm going to get to work.